Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm participating today in a YouTube hop with some other fabulous like fabric and shabby chic artists, junk journal artists. This will be shabby chic style. I do have a lot of stuff that I do that is not shabby chic, so I'll try to make it shabby chic like, but I can't guarantee I won't have a few oddball things in there that probably are a stretch, because I tend to also kind of go bohemian and very eclectic, so mine will probably be a little bit less traditional, but I'll try to use as much shabby chic as I can. But this concept is going to be called From Floor to So Much More, because I've been in a frenzy for the last several months. Actually, I like to do a lot of assembly line art. I've been working on junk journals and stuff, but I did some big cluster swaps that were very shabby chic. I did a whole batch of them. And so I just, stuff falls on the floor, and then I would clean up my desk, and I would either start a mixed media project, or I would start a boho thing. And so things have been collecting, and the pile was actually much bigger than this, but I weeded it down to the things that are more practical, because I'm going to try to make clusters, but I don't know precisely what I'm doing, because I'm really only going to use this particular limited pile of scraps. I'm not going to use all of this, obviously, but there is quite a collection, so it will give me the ability to make some things. I do assembly line art if I'm making like a bigger thing, but when I'm working from scraps, I just use what you see here. I think there's a few things that will work as embellishments. I'm probably going to do clusters. Something could end up on a paper clip, but I'm thinking snippet style, but I don't know. I just kind of wing it and just make stuff, basically. So I have all this. I'm going to separate this a little bit into piles, because some things like this, I was making like little pieces like this was left over from a junk journal cover. And a lot of times I take things like linens, quilts, things that have a little bit of batting, or pillow shams, and I cut them down because I like the fact that they're already kind of pre-quilted, and then I'll add more stitching of my own on there. But this is a little piece of that, because I don't do very well with just thin flat fabric. My books get pretty chunky because I really like the quilted look, and there's something about the tactile nature when I get all these built up, because the stitching makes this a lot stiffer, and it'll actually condense it a little bit more. But I like to use things like this for bases, and this is probably a good candidate. This is a good scrappy strip, or I can make little focal point embellishments using things like that sometimes. So I've got those kind of things. But then I also do a lot of like little fabric cards and stuff, and I think I did use some on those clusters using thicker wool felt. I think this is actually felt sheets. I forget what size they call this. I feel like it's 3 or 5 millimeter, but I think you're meant to buy these and use them for needle felting, but I like stitching through them. Those were actual felt sheets, but then after, because I've been using these for several years now, I use them for hearts and stuff on my projects because they look really neat when you stitch them. But then I have thinner things like this, and they were really from wool blankets. So there's a few pieces of things like in here, but I think I'm going to cut out some hearts, probably for embellishments. I don't have a lot of embellishments for focal points. I did find a couple butterflies. Oh, and I found this little thing on the floor. So I've got some pinks, some yellows, some lavenders, and then a bunch of other things. Oh, this is a section. I used a big tablecloth to make a big cover to overlay on a shabby chic journal. And so this is one remnant that just kind of fell by the wayside. I'd use a ton of cheesecloth, so I got that. This is another little whacked off piece that got whacked off of a piece I made. That's like tulle with stitched tulle flowers on it. I'm going to separate these into piles, some that are a little bit more focal image like, and some that are like base pieces, and then I'll just kind of sort that out. I'm not going to make all of this, obviously it's too much, but I will make a few things for this video. And then I want to show you this mess. Yes, this was really on the floor. I think I was running out of base. I I make a lot of fabric cards, and I like to use a piece of fabric on the back of them. And I was running out of like solid, usually I just use a sheet or something. But I ran out, and so I went and I used an old sheet that I don't use anymore. And the first thing I do is when I disassemble them is I cut the elastic off. This one's way more scrappy. I cut it way closer, I think, to the casing, but as you can see, it's a really big mess. So the first thing I want to do is I think I'd like to make a little flower as an embellishment on one of these like clusters. And I'm going to clean this up. I might use this end, but basically I'm going to cut a piece of this down because here's what I'm really thinking. This will probably be like one of those rolled roses or something, or some combination of. I watch videos all the time on how to make flowers, but I look at them as suggestions and then I just do what I want. So a lot of times I'll start out one way and I just kind of work with it until I get it the way I like it. But I'm not necessarily following a tried and true tutorial. But I'm going to stitch these together. So like what I'll do is I'll try to clean this up a little bit. This part's going to be the bottom of the flower, but it is pretty scrappy looking. So I'll probably trim this back a little bit like that. And I do get it. This is something you're not going to be able to go and say, oh, I'm going to make exactly what she made, because you have to customize it to the scraps you have, but I would encourage you to try to find creative ways to use them. So what I was thinking is I cut this down a little bit smaller, but sometimes I like to do flowers that are two-toned, or not, I mean, where you have like layered multiple fabrics together, so you get alternating layers. And cheesecloth is pretty thin, so what I like to do is put the two torn edges, because they're going to stick up and out of the flower and make it look messy. So this would be like my top edge I would use. And I'm just going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch these two pieces together. I'll stitch it along the bottom where I kind of trimmed it a little bit. And then I'm going to use that as the base for my rose. And then I'll probably start rolling it up or something. All right, these are my more organized piles. These are my, like, different wool felt scraps that I had down there. These are other base pieces I had whacked off of different things and hit the floor. That's something I started stitching and I cut out a leaf or something and didn't use. Anyway, I stitched a couple things together on there. These are some scraps of fabric. These, oh, that's the flower I just did, or that's the piece, scraps I just stitched together to make a flower. These are some little more embellishment type things. I have this whole little pile here of different gauzes and cheesecloth stuff. These were a couple of different pieces I had cut off of bigger ribbons. And then this is just a collection of lace scraps and trims and whatnot. This was part of a flower, I guess, but I stuck it in that pile because I might use this in the flower or something. But the first thing I want to do is I want to try to make this little embellishment, and then I'll use it wherever I can. I don't know what size I need, but I'm just going to make something. If I turn out to not, you know, I like to layer, so I'm still, because this side is pretty, yeah. That's the other reason I was thinking if I do this, I can make the cheesecloth stuff show maybe to the outside and calm it down a little bit. But sometimes I like to do this and then take these other scraps off of other flowers or remnants and go around it. So that might be what I'm thinking I'm going to do. I think I don't want to do a piece this big because these are supposed to be for clusters. And I probably need to limit myself a little bit here. That'll give me enough for 2, or I can use it on something different. Hopefully it doesn't go back to the floor again. I'm just going to start gluing and rolling. But I want to make it so that it's not too... I want to keep it a little bit loose so that I can try to smash it down a little bit flatter. When I get it in there. because my thinking is I can do that and then kind of smash it down a little bit, because I am bad with dimension and I would like to be able to use it as a cluster, basically. I don't know if I was probably supposed to put this on a felt bottom, but I didn't. But it will be glued on top of a piece of fabric, I guess. So there is that messy little freeform kind of rolled flower with wispy bits of cheesecloth. I might put this around it, but I might not. I'll wait to make a decision on this till I find out what I'm actually going to do, and then I might use that. What I was probably going to do is just take something, maybe I'll take this piece and just start cutting something down to use, because I'm going to stitch all of this. This piece is probably going to be largely covered up anyway. Maybe I'll throw some glue in here. This was part of a much larger project that I recycled. Basically, I took fabrics, layered them to make these big giant hearts, but they were big and floppy. They were not the heavily stitched things I do now, but these were giant. And then I decided I didn't need them anymore, and so then I chopped it up and started making other things with them. So this will have a lot more stitching. It'll make it not so floppy for me. Okay, since I'm probably using it with this, I'll use some of these pink scraps. I think most people glue their snippets and clusters, but I usually don't. I just like the stitching, and I like the fact, I like what it does, how I get the quilted look and stuff. I just kind of tack it down with glue. I'm going to add more, but I'll go stitch this and I'll be back, because this will be my base layer. I don't know what you call this. I guess I'm sort of calling it a cluster, but it's not traditional clusters. It's more like my little quilty clusters, I guess. Anyway, I added a lot more stitching than I should have. It did make it nice and stable the way I like it, but I wouldn't normally put that much stitching, but I couldn't stop myself. Then I started thinking what I want to do is, I know I want this, but I need something more interesting. And so I was thinking about this. I always have a hard time figuring out which side is up on these. I would say this side is up. It's just a flower. It's like a bohemian type lace, I guess, on tulle. And I was liking these two together, but it's still kind of plain. And then I saw this little scrap over there. I love just whacking the edges of these doilies and stuff off, and then I'll use them in random little bits. But I think I'm going to put that on there, and I will cut this down a little bit more, and then do this. This is still very fluffy, so I think I'm going to just, after I get these other pieces glued and or stitched, then I think I'm just going to do it by hand and tack some thread through there and see if I can get it squished down a little bit flatter. But I think that's my plan. Okay, I went ahead and stitched this part down and just kind of zipped back and forth over those loose pieces a few times. I trimmed this back. I know that I'm going to stitch through this flower that's in the centers, and I don't want to put a bunch of glue down there, so I'm just going to glue a little bit towards the tips of the flower to kind of hold it on there. And then I will have some stitching that goes through the center of the flower where I put that this little handmade flower. Okay, I just put one little drop of glue on there. I don't know how much the white flower will show, but at least looks interesting. So I'm going to set that part aside, and I will stitch that off camera and then show it at the end. Now I would like to start another base, and I want, I know I want to do one with one of these hearts, so actually I was thinking about this piece. Man, I used that a long time ago, and it was actually folded and everything. It just got wiped off the table with everything else. Don't know what I'm doing, just making it up. Oops, I'm going to move this back up more. Screen. Looks like the edge is somewhere over here. I just kind of lay it out temporarily and see if I like the looks or the colors. Oh, I got this too. Oh, and I have I have some of this stuff. Oh, the other ones that I really love are these. I don't know if you're supposed to. I always mix white and vintage coffee stain stuff together. Or maybe I can put it on this side. I'm just laying out to check the colors if I like them. I'm looking at these. I think I might use one of these. What I like to do is cut a heart. Let me just cut the heart. And then I like to put like a piece of cheesecloth. And I don't do patterns for my hearts. I just make them free form. I like the folksy kind of hearts, I guess. And for whatever reason, all my hearts end up wonky. One of the points usually ends up looking a lot taller or more pointy than the other one. But I just embrace it because that's what mine look like. And this will get stitched down and it'll change the look of it once I get the stitching on there. Yeah, this piece is thick, so I'll keep these ones thinner, I guess, for this particular use. But it will have stitching on there. Or maybe I'll overlap this piece. Okay. I kind of don't mind that, so I'm going to see if I can cut this down a little bit. Actually, I'll do it this way. I'm going to glue this. Can't really put too much glue on the other side with all that lace, so I'll put it underneath this. This is not going to hold together awesome, but I just need to get it to the sewing machine, basically. Okay. I'm going to do this and trim this down. Okay. I'm going to stitch this on there so I can kind of hold it, and then I'll put this piece on. And stitch that, and then I'll see what I get after that. Okay, I went ahead and stitched down this trim on the edge. I went around this a few times, but then I didn't like just a straight stitch, so I went back around it with the zigzag, and then I just did straight stitch around this a couple of times, so it's a little more solid now. Usually these I don't even stitch them because I'm going to put a heart on top of it so the heart will hold it, and then these will stay loose. This way you usually have to kind of mess around with it and figure out how I like, because usually this is pretty much almost a triangle shape here, and so I got to figure out if I want the heavier part at the top or at the bottom. I think I like it better this way because it shows us this is part of a flower, but there's only a little tiny piece showing. But I guess it still adds visual interest and texture. So let's go like this. Okay, now I'll go stitch this down. I stitch the heart. Usually on these, I get them a little too close to the edge, and then it doesn't catch it. So I went around a couple of times. So there's my wonky heart. And then I decided to put this little ribbon piece on. I'm not good at tying those bows that you tie completely separate. So on mine, I usually cheat so I don't have to tie a real knot on here. And I just stitched it to the edge of the heart right down the middle. And then all I have to do is make my loops on it. So that'll be my kind of little adornment for the heart, I guess. Oh, that looks different than I thought it would. Okay, anyway, that's kind of cute. If I want to trim it, I can trim it later, but that's that. I'm really wanting to use this one, but I got to think if I've even got the right pieces for this. I'm wanting to use this. I got, oh, here, this is the top, I guess. I got a big table runner and had strawberries on the edge. I wanted to cut out for my strawberry journal. And this is a little piece I whacked off that was too big. I need a pretty good sized piece to make it work. Although I can still cut smaller sections off, I guess. I was thinking about this piece. I could put, oh, for one, it's upside down. This is the top. I could potentially put these together, but I don't like that base. I only use these for backings. It's interesting because I've used them twice now. I think it's because it's the bigger pieces I have. Oh, I have these though. Because the other thing I was trying to figure out is whether I could use that little scrap of one of these lavender scraps. I don't think I'd use that one. Actually, these two look really neat together. So I could potentially do that. Okay, let me think here for a second. This one's an interesting shape, but I don't like covering the flowers up, I guess. If I did this, I would need something underneath here. To kind of make it stand out and pop from the flowers on the background. Oh, I wish I would have had a bigger doily. I think I had a little piece of something, but not the size I needed. I do have this. I don't think I'd want to sacrifice that flower there, though. Oh my gosh, but what if I put the flower on top of that? This is how my mind works. Okay, there's that. Okay, there's that. Maybe it's not a flower, it's kind of squarish, but I could probably still make it work. Oh, I know. I was going to also check this piece out. I keep wondering if I should put this around the outside. I think it might be okay this way because I can't really tell they're flowers anymore, but this diffuses the lavender and makes it not so bold, I guess. Because I was thinking about this and then adding these ribbons. I just love ribbons. I don't know. I feel like it's starting to work. And then I will stitch this to kind of hang over the edge like this. So I think I'll do it. So, okay. I stitched this on there, around there several times. And then I stitched loosely around these flowers. They're probably not going to show, but it adds a little more stability. I didn't want to zigzag through all the flowers. I know they're flowers, even though they're probably just going to look like lavender fabric when I get done, I guess. And then I think it was up here, I cut a little bit of that excess fabric away that I didn't really like the look of. Okay. Now I can start layering these pieces. So I want to glue this down in the corner. All right, that should be good enough now. Oh yeah, I decided to bypass, I think I was going to bypass now the flower, I think it doesn't matter which way it goes, honestly, but there's 4 points on this. And so I feel like to look right, it's probably going to have the points facing up. Maybe like that. Okay, yeah, I'll skip the cheesecloth on this one. I'm going to use real glue, though, because I don't have good luck with Fabri-Tac on these real wispy fabrics. Like this tulle here. I'm not going to glue the points on these, just in the center. Oh, I might actually have enough here. I don't think I got a pretty good glob of glue. So I'll let this dry a little bit, and then my next thing is I will go to the machine again like I did on the other piece. I'll stitch these two together in the corner, and then I can tie my bow. Okay, whoa. Okay, I stitched, what did I do? I forgot what I was doing. I glued that down. I stitched this in the middle. I will tie the bow in a minute. The rest I'm going to finish off screen, but I decided in the middle of this, I'm going to have to let the glue dry more, because I'm going to stitch through this, and I don't really want to stitch it through while the glue is partially damp. I have this. I found this a long time ago. I was cutting, I don't know, it's probably a big table runner or doily apart. It's where they take the plastic rings and they encase it, and I don't remember what the technical term for that is, but they encase it with stitching, and then this is basically the center to a crocheted flower. And I took the flower off and I saved some of the rings. I want to put the ring on there, because I think this is going to elevate it a little bit. I want to use these 3 lavender pearls, and that's what I'm going to have to stitch on. And I decided I was going to put this little tiny piece of cheesecloth. I think a little bit of the ring is still going to show, but I feel like it's going to raise it up slightly and make it more interesting, I guess. So anyway, I hope this works. But that was kind of my plan. I guess it doesn't have to be. I could really just take the ring off, but I think it's because I think it's an interesting way to use it, and I like using things that I hang on to. So anyway, I'll finish the rest off camera, and then I will have a little slideshow at the end to show you what the completed products are on these, because I have to stitch the other flower as well on this one at the same time. So thanks for watching.